podcast. Jesus
No, I'm
Christ.
sorry. I'm very sorry. All right, we going? We are. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS. And brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Bed. To get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the process, and Touchstone Electric Fireplaces. Get yours now for 15% off with promo code TTP at zerodeadbirds.com. On today's show, a friend of the Ricky, a new friend of the Ricky, gets screwed by the Pro Bowlers Association tour.
Classic.
Well, we got to lead with it. A return to the ship of Theseus, and a question of morals from a listener. The Sixers winning basket play, whether Sixers Adam knows what honeydew is, some trades he came up with for the Sixers for the Central Division. And I was thinking about it all morning. I didn't know whether to say it or not. I have a potentially very, what's the word I'm looking for? Controversial take for you that I want to run by you. Very controversial.
Okay.
Before we get started, I wanted to mention as you probably saw on the internet, or if you're not on Twitter, God bless you. The Athletic had a bunch of layoffs this week due to the COVID crisis, and one of them was Mike O'Connor, who didn't just write Sixers, but he wrote a lot of Sixers. And if Derek ever had a podcast, he would have occasionally appeared on that podcast. Has Mike been on our pod? I feel like he has at some point.
No.
He hasn't. I'm a big Mike O'Connor fan. And
He's great.
Yeah, I would, if you are an outlet looking for somebody to write about basketball, there's, like he wrote great stuff for The Athletic, but I think there's a lot more there. And I think he's great. So if you have a place to hire Mike O'Connor, you should hire Mike O'Connor. If you want him to write about basketball, who knows? We've discovered other things. If you want him to write lists of food, I don't know what Mike's takes on food are. Without any further ado, Amos and the Chef.
Laddie, sweetie, the man is here.
Say the name, I say the name, I say the name.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Forever.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. Oh boy,
Spike Eskin.
I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who made his bed before the pod on a Sunday morning. That is
This is
Mike
ridiculous.
Lubin.
Ridiculous. We have to do video all the time now. I have to now. I'm presenting.
I was Mike and I were talking right before this started, and I mentioned that I think I know I'm learning how to use iMovie and Photoshop, so I don't have to play the theme song through the mic for the video ones. And Mike made a remark that everyone but me understands, that agrees with, that I think I'm making everything better, but really what I'm doing is making everything harder on myself.
There you go.
There we go.
We do 7 years of this thing.
Yeah.
I never care what my face looks like during a podcast.
Yeah.
My friggin' sweaty gym shorts are hanging in the background of a shot.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And now it changes. Everything changes.
everything changes. Can I tell you, last time I remembered, so where in my office where I do this is right under the vent we have central air for the air conditioner. And when I record a pod, what I'll do is I'll turn in the winter, I'll turn the thermostat down so it doesn't click on. In the summer, I'll turn it up. Well, the Wednesday night when we were recording with Bill, the podcast with Bill, as soon as we started, I realized that it was going to get really hot in my office because the air conditioner wasn't going to kick on and that I would have sweat all over my face. And I hadn't considered that. with the video.
And that's every podcast for me, because if my air conditioner was on, you wouldn't be able to hear me because it's very
Right.
loud.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the sacrifices I make. You're learning things. I'm just sweating.
Right. I wanted to start with, so I watched Bill O'Neill, new friend of the pod, PBA champion, 2-time world champion, 10-time PBA champion, did a thing last night for the Pro Bowlers Association where he went down to Florida and faced off against 7 of the top bowlers in America. Now, Bill is a Ricky listener and a Sixers fan from Langhorne, now friend of the pod. And instead of doing a normal bowling match, what they did last night, and by the way, when we get to I wanted to read the Apple Podcast review because I think it's very funny, but we got a lot of good feedback on the podcast with Bill. I noticed, actually watching back to it, you seemed more intrigued by this one interview than any interview we may have ever done on the podcast, I think.
I as a former bowler, I had to deliver. And I will say, I think I don't watch much pro bowling. And Bill talked about why that's a problem, why they need to be doing more outreach on our podcast last time. Mm-hmm. But man, not an attractive bunch. Bill is easily the best looking out of those guys.
It's not even close.
Good for them being talented with those looks, but wow,
Right. Yep.
pretty startling professional athletes with that level of wow.
Shocking.
It was.
So instead of a normal bowling match, what it was they faced off sort of one-on-one to see who could bowl as many strikes as they could within 2 minutes. And
Kind of like a home run derby for bowling.
Correct. But instead of, and they used 3 lanes, and instead, and there was one seeding round, but then it was basically one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And so Bill, in the first round, ties the guy that he's going against. And this other guy, Mike, from a bowling podcast, Bill's friend, Mike told me that this guy he was going against is like Bill's nemesis.
Wow.
Had beat him in a couple of, PBA events. Mm-hmm. So Bill ties him with 9 strikes each. And they decide, instead of a bowl off or something, they decide that the tiebreaker, and I guess they said this beforehand, I didn't hear the rules, the tiebreaker was whoever had the most strikes in a row during the competition. That's bullshit.
It feels like nothing. It feels like not a great way to do it. I would have liked to see a bowl off where they're next to each other, where they only have one lane and they're waiting for the lane. They're like having to itch to do that, like as they're waiting for the ball to come back. Maybe they bump heads as they're going in the ball return. Very fun.
Yeah. Something.
I liked it. My favorite part was watching them run in between the lanes and have to do a little hustle athleticism. Mm-hmm. And it made me think that for home run derbies, they should have to run to first base and then resettle themselves and try to hit a home run from there, and then keep adjusting from every spot.
You could see them running out of gas as it was happening.
Pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah. It was, and I can't even think about. They were bowling. It seemed to be around maybe between 20 and 25 times in the 2 minutes.
A little less than that. It was. I think Bill's first time he said he got off 17 or 19 or something like that.
Okay, all right. And some guys bowl with 2 arms. I've never seen that before.
I didn't expect that. I didn't expect because you see sometimes they do that, but I didn't expect it on a professional level. They're still using your other hand to.
Well, so this guy Mike explained to us maybe 10 years ago. One of the bowlers that was there last night popularized that, and they actually teach people this way now. Wow. Because you can bowl it harder and get more spin on it by using 2 arms. But I would like to, if there's an official way that we can protest the PBA because of what happened to Bill last night, the tiebreaker scenario, what do you're waiting for somebody else to take the lanes? You have the lanes all night. Even if it's I bowl one, then you bowl one, then I bowl one, what's it, spelling bee style, until somebody doesn't bowl the strike.
Yeah, the PBA screw job. Pretty classic for us as far as Sixers go. He ended. I think he ended. Was he in the 3-6 or was he in the 4-5?
He was in the 4-5.
Okay, so very Sixersy, and disappointed.
And yes, very Sixersy, and lost to the eventual champion, as Warren, Ricky listener pointed out. Yeah, so
I turned it off after Bill lost.
So did I. I didn't want to watch the rest of it, but I knew that happened.
I got angry all over again.
Sports
are back, baby.
Yeah, I definitely want to. when we can be near other people again, the trip to go see Bill in Maine is definitely going to happen without question. The Apple Podcast 5-star, we only do this when I feel like I have a good one. The Apple Podcast 5-star review of the week. Leave us a 5-star rating. We're at 2,682. This one came from SMI Foot. Now, the subject line is sincere review. I love everything about this review. I listen to your show frequently and tolerate it. You're doing okay. However, I've genuinely never been as fascinated as I was listening to your, in all caps, bowling interview. I need more bowling content. I'm going to buy a Bill O'Neill bowling jersey immediately. I listen to your show. It's not like there's a shortage of podcasts. There are a billion of them. I listen to your show frequently and tolerate it. You're doing okay.
That's how I feel about us.
Yeah. I think it's probably how most people feel. Mm-hmm. The NBA this week, the Players Union and the Board of Governors, I think they both, the Board of Governors did ratify the agreement to come play. One team voted against. That was Portland. I saw CJ McCollum say that they wanted it voted against, but I don't know why. I think
they wanted 20 teams, not 22.
Okay. All right. Got it. They will, the final day they can play in the playoffs is October 12th. And then the earliest they would begin play next season is December 1st. But the Players Union suggested that it would likely be later than that, as that's a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Some other things, the win percentage will determine standings because the teams will have played a different number of games.
Yeah, which is very bizarre because, there was a low post with Kevin Pelton, and they talked about like how that would work. Mm-hmm. And if it's like, say, one team has played 2 more games than the other team, that they're tied in the, as far as games back go, but they went 1-1 in those games. And so it's like an infinitesimal like percentage differential.
Yeah.
Like, we're already being weird. It's for like the 8 seed or whatever. Give me like a 1-on-1, like a
extra game or something.
Game to 11. Like, you send your best guy, we'll send our best guy, and see if it's like Dame against like Jaren Jackson or something, and it'd be like just post it, like see what the strategy would that be, and like all the players stand on the side. That'd be awesome. Like sort of like a like back when Roman armies would send like one guy, and they'd be like, you send your guy, and we'll kill each other.
I thought you were going to go back to, and I don't think this ever happened. There was supposed to be a 1-on-1 tournament in Atlantic City between Bird and Magic, and there were a bunch of games that were supposed to happen, and it never happened. I thought you were going to go back to a 1-on-1 basketball perspective tournament, but no, you went back to Rome.
No, Rome. Yeah. Emperors.
Rome.
But it just seems so bizarre for it to be like, we did all of this, and like, whoops, sorry, 0.0001, Portland makes it, Memphis, you're out. Like, whatever that is. It feels very odd, and I wish that they're trying to do this thing where it's like we're being a little weird and fun. Like, we like to have fun here a little,
which makes it less fun,
but not enough to be actually fun. It feels like they're doing half measures all over the place. I want to give me one, like, all right, 3-point contest to see who gets to lose to the Lakers. Like, just give me that.
The other thing, and I assume you don't care about this, and I haven't asked our folks at DraftKings Sportsbook, but I wonder what's going to happen to everyone who bet like win totals and division winners and all that kind of stuff. Like, I would assume that there's some language that gets them out of all of those bets, and they could just cancel all of those bets. But that's a lot of fucking money, I bet, the people that put futures bets out there.
I bet they get, like, for win totals, I feel like you got to give the money back. I feel like that's just got to be like a.
But what if you bet the over and it already passed the over?
That's a good point.
You see what I'm saying?
I think you should get your money if it's already decided. Or if you were one short, it's like, sorry, bet canceled. Like, that kind of sucks for you. But
or what if you're under and there aren't enough games for you to have gotten the over, even if they played 82 games?
True.
Yeah. And then division winners, I don't know. It's wild. I actually have a futures bet. I bet the Raptors to win the division, I think at plus 500 or something. And I assume they'll win that, but it's pretty close. I don't know. Very strange.
Very bizarre.
Kevin Durant announced that he would not play this season. There was
Yeah.
some speculation about that. That seems
that was
smart.
always the case. Yeah, it seemed like there was people wanted to like hope that it would happen, but
Yeah, I didn't think it would.
It seems like why would you come back for this?
Now, this is interesting too, and I think it's smart to think about. In that, I was talking to our very own Sixers Adam yesterday about the total. Like, if let's say the Sixers lose in the first round in like 6 games or something, we could theoretically go from March 11th to mid to late December with about, I don't know, 15 to 20 total Sixers games, which is a long time. But there are teams who won't play at all here. And that's a long off period to be off from mid-March to not play games at all, not work out with your team from mid-March to mid-December. And there are some talks about the teams that are not included in this doing some joint workouts, which I don't know. Especially if you have a young team like the Hawks or something like that, to not play together and not play any competition for 10 months seems like you're almost throwing away a year of development. Be interesting this is all unprecedented, but it will be interesting to see what happens there.
Totally. It's all very, very bizarre. The Sixers are locked into the 6th seed, and for a bunch of reasons, I want them to stay there.
Yeah, they're not locked in. They are in the 6th
Currently, right. They're currently in the 6th seed, and I want them to stay there because actually, I don't care that much about Milwaukee. Like, I think if they beat them, there's I guess there's a little difference if they land in that side of the bracket and have to play Toronto, Boston in some order. Then maybe they can win 2 series, especially because there's no road games, no home games. We talked about that last pod, but
would you rather them play Miami or Boston their first round? Who do you think they have a better chance of beating?
I think equal. Yeah, and it'd be funny to play the Unterberger script from the alternate timeline. But it'd be really good to get revenge on Boston. There's obviously a lot of feelings there in both, but the conventional wisdom is you avoid Milwaukee until the conference finals. But at a certain point, you got to there's as much of a chance in my mind of them looking good and beating Milwaukee as there is, getting swept by Indiana or some shit.
Right.
The thing I care about is the Oklahoma City pick. That's all I care about.
It's the only thing worth caring
about.
It
really is. I mean,
it is in jeopardy right now. It is in jeopardy.
Totally.
Like, it could be adjusted based on what happens here.
Yeah. But for a lot of reasons, I hope the Sixers go, 3-5 in the whatever 8 games they have to play. So then they could still be worse than Oklahoma City, so they can sit there. But
we should host online watch parties for Oklahoma City games. So
it'll be like 6 in the morning my time. I'm gonna have crazy hair because I still haven't gotten a haircut since this whole thing. I only wear hats now. And
wow, a hack guy Mike.
Yeah, and I trust the Thunder. I really do. They're the team I trust the most in the league. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, love that guy. CP is going to bring it. Take it personally.
We're a Thunder podcast.
We are. We have been.
And the final thing I wanted to bring up, now we've talked a bunch. I don't know that we need to talk any more about it, but Joel Embiid, what kind of shape he's going to be in. And if you're a betting I don't know. If you're a betting person, history suggests it's not going to be great. But one thing I hadn't considered. So, did you see Furkan's post yesterday of the picture of himself?
No.
Can you
Should
to?
I look?
Yeah. I texted
Twitter and Instagram.
I think both. I saw it on Twitter. As soon as I saw it, this is what started the conversation with Sixers Adam. I sent it to him. I was like, "Furk look a little hefty to you?" And he said it was the first thing he thought when he saw it. I'm not crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like he grew some baby fat back.
Yeah.
Like, I want to pinch his cheeks.
Yeah, and Furk
we're not a fat shaming podcast, but we are a please be in shape Korkmaz podcast.
Yeah. He played.
His hair also looks kind of gray in a cool way. Is that, you noticing that?
What looks gray? His hair.
His hair, yeah.
I don't know. It's happening to me. So, well, that happens to some people
Yeah.
early. They're gray. Didn't happen to me until like early. Was I?
It makes me think that he
39 or
wears
40?
like makeup to play in, and he just this is his like this is what I look like right now, in just like a morning face, and he's like, this is what it is. This is without all the work done.
So we.
He does not look like this face. Does not look like a face of a 6'8" man that can dunk.
No, right? And it certainly doesn't look like a guy that's been like, there's been some pictures of Matisse Thybulle running to stay in shape. We saw one picture of Joel Embiid in the gym. Looks like Ferk's been supporting our local restaurants by getting.
Although I'm looking at another picture of him, and maybe he always has those cheeks. I just guess I don't see him that up close that much. Mm-hmm. He always has this little like chubster cheeks from like a baby.
Maybe, and maybe it's just the angle, but you could put any picture on Twitter or Instagram, and he'd pick that one. I don't know. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. Certainly couldn't slow him down. Doesn't seem like it. So, I wanted to talk. We briefly mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. The script thing we're doing, but we have some details now. So I thought it would be worth it to bring up again. So you wrote a script with your partner Patrick, in conjunction with what officially is the company? It's not Clutch, right? Like what's the official company?
Oh, LeBron's company.
Yeah,
it is. It's called Spring Hill Entertainment.
Spring Hill Entertainment. So wrote a script for a half-hour show, sitcom-y type show, or
yeah, it was a single camera comedy that's doc style. So it's like kind of as if it's like What We Do in the Shadows or The Office or something like that.
Got it. So it is based on the character is not Ben Simmons, but the character is based on Ben Simmons.
Yeah, it's based on Ben's family's life. Ben and his brother Sean and his parents. We fictionalized all of them. But yes, and yeah, keep going.
So the show did not get picked up.
No, not even close.
Did not even close.
Not even close.
To get paid.
If Mike Weber is a Academy losing screenwriter, I am definitely whatever the version of that is.
So Mike had this idea, which I thought was wonderful, in that we are going to sell the script on our website to benefit our charity. So Abby, our friend Abby Huertas, is going to do artwork for the cover.
I'm very excited for that.
Yep. We're going to sell it for $5. So it's going to be on sale for 1 week. And the week is going to be a pre-order, and then everyone will get it. So starting June 25th, you'll be able to pre-order this. And then a week later, you will get the script in your email. The proceeds, and this is thank you to Touchstone Fireplaces, who we'll talk to in a second. So the proceeds are going to go to Coded by Kids in the Providence Animal Center. And I had a long talk with Sylvester from Coded by Kids on Friday, and I spoke to Justina from Providence Animal Center as well. And we're going to get some specific sort of guidance as to where our money's going to go for this one, like which program and like, how many animals it'll feed. So there's some sort of, so you have some context for that. And Touchstone Fireplaces, our newest sponsor, is going to match all the money raised.
Love it.
To the charities. So, which is really awesome. So it'll be $5 for the PDF. You'll get Abby's artwork as well. And that money will go to Coded by Kids in the Providence Animal Center. And then for every script you buy, Touchstone Fireplaces is going to get another copy of the PDF script. They're going to get like 1,000 of them. So, so we're going to raise money for it, which I think is tremendous. So
yeah, and you'll have the
25th.
script that NBC looked at and said,
Nah.
no thanks.
Yep. And then we're going to have Patrick, your writing partner, on so I can grill you on it a little bit.
Great.
The first time ever, you're two creative partners in one place on one.
It's going to be bad.
Speaking of Touchstone Fireplaces, our newest sponsor, Touchstone Electric Fireplaces in Exton, PA, having a sale right now, Mike. What they're trying to do is clear out their warehouse. So not only do they have the electric fireplaces, which are refurbished and come with the full guarantee that their normal fireplaces do. I think like $300 and $400 off the electric fireplaces, but also they have these TV stands as well that they sell, and they're on sale as well. So go to zerodeadbirds.com. That
None.
is No dead birds, not in a TV stand either. ZeroDeadBirds.com. Use promo code TTP for 15% off. Check out the refurbished ones, or you can get a brand new one. Electric fireplaces is everything you want about the fireplace: the warmth, the look, all that, but without any of the hassle. No bad smell, salmon smell, as Mike has pointed out, the fish smell that fireplaces are known to create. No ash that you have to clean up in front of the fireplace. No, like, you don't have to vacuum or oh man, when it would get on my parents have a fireplace, when it would get on the rug, getting ash out of the rug, like our rug was stained in front of the fireplace. You don't have that. Here's something we haven't mentioned. If you've got a pet, as we are a pet podcast, you don't have to worry about the dog or cat going anywhere near the fireplace and getting hurt. And the enormous bonus.
Becoming even more of a pet podcast.
Yes, soon. Soon, yes. That's very soon. No dead birds in the chimney. You don't have to worry about cleaning out your chimney full of dead birds. Go to ZeroDeadBirds.com. Use promo code TTP. They've got sizes from 3 feet wide to 100 inches wide. They're easy to install, and they're there to answer any question you have. Just go to the website, look at the pictures. It's awesome. And the shipping is quick. They'll have you the electric fireplace within 2-3 days. Customer service online, on chat, email, phone, whatever you need. Touchstone Electric Fireplaces, ZeroDeadBirds.com, promo code TTP. So here, Ime Udoka, who is was this his first year with the team or his second year with the team?
First.
His first year with the team, a well thought of assistant with the Spurs, has been reported to be the lead candidate to be the head coach with the Chicago Bulls, where Mark Eversley went, former Sixers collaborator. I'm thinking this morning, right? I don't know a ton about Ime Udoka, only that everybody seems to like him, right? I mean, he seems to be one of those guys that will end up. I have this fear that if they lose him, and if Mark Eversley is the guy if he's the guy that Eversley wants to hire, that he is the guy that we can't lose. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but because I see what happened in Toronto, and I know that, the most, I think the biggest compliment that you can give, what's his fuck in Toronto? Nick Nurse. Is that they won the championship because Kawhi was there, but Kawhi leaves and their record is like better than it was when he was there, or the same.
It's very impressive.
Incredibly impressive. And I'm getting this vibe that if they let Udoka go, and who knows, maybe this is public pressure to get him the Sixers job. Maybe this is his agent or doing something like that. I'm just thinking this morning, I would probably just fire Brett Brown now and give the job to Udoka.
Now.
I would fire him now because
going into the 8-game playoff.
Yes.
Wow.
Because I think they're going to fire him anyway. I think here's the way that the math looks in my head. The way the math looks in my head is that unless he gets to the finals, he's losing his job. That's what I think is going to happen. I think they have almost no chance of getting to the finals. As I've said on the pod, I think this whole situation, while it is unprecedented and it's impossible for us to know how it will affect any one of these teams, I think it affects the Sixers badly. I don't want to lose him.
But is this just because someone else wants him?
Yes.
That feels like a...
But he was already well thought of.
Sure.
He was already well thought. And I don't want a Van Gundy, and I don't want, God bless Mike D'Antoni. I don't think I want him. I want a fucking young guy who is smart and who is an up-and-comer, and I would just fucking fire Brett Brown now.
Wow.
Yeah, I would do it. I love Brett Brown. I love you. I hope they don't listen to me. I hope the Sixers win the championship, and you are the greatest single story in professional sports coaching history. But I would do it now. Your thoughts?
Well, it's weird. Brett has lost a lot of assistants.
The Brett Brown coaching tree, which we've mentioned.
Well, I think some to some to be an assistant somewhere at other places, and the last 3 years, if Udoka does go become the coach of the Bulls, the last 3 years, Lloyd Pierce, Monty Williams, and now Ime Udoka. So it's kind of tough to get a level of, and D'Antoni the year before that, right?
Yes, and if I could go back in time, if you could go back in time and say, get rid of Brett, keep Lloyd Pierce, what would you do?
I mean, it's not like Atlanta's been excellent.
Right.
I like Lloyd Pierce as a guy. I like Brett as a guy. Udoka hasn't done a ton of press, so it's hard to get a sense of him as a person, but he seems like a well-liked guy, and I like any assistant coach that's good looking. I don't know. It's the coaching is so hard to identify, right? Yeah. I wonder, like, how long was Nick Nurse an assistant on Toronto? I know he was a G League coach before that, and then coached like kind of all over the place. But I wonder, like, how long, because he was Toronto's G League coach before that, I guess. So I guess he had to. They really knew him pretty well. But it's one of those things where,
honestly, his history is pretty amazing. He was an assistant with the Raptors for 5 years. Amazingly enough, I would assume that he was Robert Covington's coach with the Rio Grande Valley Vipers.
He was.
Because he was their coach from 2011 to 2013. And then before that...
Actually, he might have missed him by a year.
The Iowa Energy, the Oklahoma Storm, the Brighton Bears, the Oklahoma Storm, London Towers, the Manchester Giants, the Birmingham Bullets.
Yeah, he's a grinder, man. That's very interesting. And so I wonder, like, what kind of, as like a, Eversley as an exec of a team, how much interacting do you have with an assistant coach, and how much is that enough to be like, this is the guy we should let take over our team, aside from just like a friendly, like, conversation, you're talking in practice a couple times, you're texting, whatever. How much can you be like, that's the guy we want? It's a very, coaching is such like an imprecise thing, and it's so much about like leadership, and you see so many, I'm sure so many guys can, talk the talk, but turn out to be like full of shit and be like, oh, you actually don't know what you're doing. It's such an odd, I mean, it's like in my world, it's like, being a showrunner, where it's like you can, it's really easy to critique the showrunner when you're like the number 2 or 3 on staff and be like, this person doesn't know what they're doing, whatever, blah, 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 making all the wrong decisions. And then you sit in the seat and you're like, this is a lot of pressure, it's a lot of hard, and you like mess up like a lot of times. And so Nick Nurse clearly, was the right hire. But a lot of times it's not. And so I don't know. I get a tough read on Brett now. It seems like everybody's kind of, there's just so much baggage, and it's kind of just time to go. He hasn't been, crazy vocal during these 3 months about really anything. I think he did like a Brian Stelter interview, or a Seltzer interview. He
did a Zoom with the reporters as well, right. But it was very Brett-y. There wasn't a lot in there. Yeah,
he's not. Yeah, he's still in season mode in the sense of, I'm talking about these guys in the way they talk. Or maybe that's just how I haven't seen him like loosen up, I guess, and just be, here's what we, you know what I mean?
We need him on the pod. We need another live show. That was the last time.
I don't know that he would be. Yeah, he was pretty loose on the live show. I think the crowd gets him there, but I don't know how much he would, because we had him on the pod prior to the live show, and he was still in his Brett mode. So I don't know. I think there might just be, when you're in a relationship that like you've just hurt each other too much emotionally, and you've taught, and other people have like said stuff that they've told you, and I think he might just be like, I'm gonna answer this as if I'm the coach, but I think in the back of his mind he knows that it's not gonna. So I don't know if Udoka's the guy. He seems great, obviously San Antonio guy, but man, I don't think there's a shot in hell that they fire him before this whole thing.
The only thing I would say, and I agree with you on Mark Eversley's inability to, or the chances that he really knows, but the one thing I would say about Eversley is that Eversley was the guy in the front office, and we said this like when it happened, that had the good relationships with players, that he is the universally well-liked guy. Like as Alex Rucker sits in his 4x4 room with a calculator.
4x4? He's a tall guy.
Yeah, he is. Well, 4x4 by 15.
Okay.
15 feet high. There's plenty of room. Um, he Eversley is the guy that, and I just wonder if he got. Now this isn't the be all end all because uh, David Fisdale was the guy that all the players liked, and it has yet to be seen whether he's a good coach or not. But I just get the sense that if this report is true, that there's no way that Eversley would hire him without knowing that this guy is a guy that players like. That's what I would say. And I think that's almost as important as anything with the Sixers right now.
Yeah.
Is a guy that the players like and respect and can hear a new voice. I would do
But
it
again,
right.
it's an easy thing when it's like you get to be liked as like the big brother or
Yes,
like the
for
uncle or
sure.
something versus when you're dad and you're
Yep.
like, okay, now I got to be the hard whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. It's kind of like, it's interesting that you're trusting Eversley and Sixers front office to make this decision when you don't think that they should be here for it. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like we're protesting all the money that's going to the police and asking them to reform, but they're going to reform themselves. It's
Right,
like
right,
the
right.
same level of on a very different scale. Let me just make that very clear. But it's the
not
same
equal.
level of like you fuck this up, you shouldn't be the ones to then, get a do-over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Well, I agree on that, and I don't trust them. I guess I would just say that I'm I'm not saying that they did this and I believe in their decision here. I'm saying that from afar, this seems like a forward-thinking move to me. This seems like the. Did you listen to the Revisionist History by Malcolm Gladwell became really intolerable? But
Never. Not once.
okay, there's one episode called "Pull the Goalie," and basically what it says is a deep dive into like hockey stats said that teams should pull their goalie when they're behind way earlier than they do, and they wait until it's too late.
Right.
And then when it's too late, like that's what makes pulling the goalie seem like it's less effective than it is because they don't do it early enough. And this is like the pull the goalie move to me. Is that like why are we waiting for something that we basically know is inevitable? And that is the folly of this front office, is that they're so like they all want to keep their jobs so badly. They'd rather take the chance that maybe the Sixers do well in this. And look, maybe Ime Udoka is not a good choice, but I would bet more that they will make the wrong decision here than the right decision, which I don't think is a bad bet.
It's an easy bet. It's definitely like minus 350.
Yeah, they make the wrong decision.
I would just ask Embiid and Simmons, be like, "You guys want? What do you want? We'll do whatever you want." And just like give them the autonomy, not to like fire the coach. Maybe that's a slippery slope in terms of
Yeah.
like them not listening to it. But like I'd get a sense from them like what
they think.
who are they comfortable with, and if they disagree on it, then that sucks.
When before we get to another Adam wrote some trade ideas. Sixers Adam, I want to talk about Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the process. I saw something yesterday that at first I thought it was like I laughed it off on the Ricky Twitter, and then I saw it again this morning, and I felt heartened at what people end up thinking of Kornblau. So Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the process, the premier boutique personal injury law firm in southeastern PA. Now they are a personal injury law firm, but as we've said many times, you can trust Kornblau with all of your legal advice. Somebody went to the protests in Philadelphia yesterday, and by the way, what a fucking show in Philadelphia! Like, it looked like the Eagles parade in terms of volume of people.
The couple that got married was pretty dope.
It was pretty amazing. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine like having that as your wedding memory is awesome, is beautiful.
Feels like something LL would arrange. Real publicity stunt.
Well, I to myself, I thought, yeah, they beat us. That's better than the one we did.
Yeah, and it is a competition. That's true.
Yeah. Somebody went to the protests with Kornblau's phone number sharpied on his arm in case he needed a lawyer. And
That's
I
my
thought,
way to do it.
yeah, I thought, wow, what trust we've developed. And I would trust him. He had 215-576-7200 written on his arm. 215-576-7200. And my wife had to go to Jenkintown yesterday. And I was like, that's where Cornblow's office is. You got to take a picture in front of his office. She didn't do it. Next time, maybe she will. The thing about Cornblow is that's where his office is. It doesn't matter. Right now, if you're not comfortable seeing anybody in person, that's cool. Give him a call, 215-576-7200 on the phone, video chat, whatever you need, or email cornblow@cornblowandcornblow.com. Or he can come to you. He is the only personal injury lawyer I know that will do house calls. And they've got offices all over the area as well. They've been at it for 40 years. He's got a passion for it. He's a good person, and he's taken care of a lot of our listeners with a bunch of different questions, a bunch of different legal advice. But if you were hurt in any way, injured at work, car accident, whatever, he is your guy. Some of the biggest medical malpractice results in all of the state as well. Again, 215-576-7200, I think still goes to his cell. I don't know. Their office might be open again. I don't know. Give it a try. Or email cornblow@cornblowandcornblow.com. Cornblow and Cornblow, the official law firm of the process. So while Sixers Adam, who is brought to you by a different Adam, Kasabi, the process realtor, is working on a giant, his signature piece for rightstoRickySanchez.com right now, under your direction. Won't say what it is, but he's working on it.
This is the first time I've ordered him to do anything.
Yes. And he said yes almost immediately.
Yeah, he's a child. Of course he said yes.
Yeah. Instead of offering him more money, I offered him candy. And he was he's not motivated by that, but I told him he could stay up an extra hour. He is doing a trade for the Sixers with every NBA team. And he is up to the Central Division. I wanted to run some of these trades by you before we get to the mailbag. The Bucks one is just fucking boring. The 22nd pick and the 49th pick for the 19th pick. This is like cheating, writing I don't know, sure, yeah, whatever. The next one, and I thought you might know something about this player, but I don't really know anything about him. The Sixers send Norvel Pell in the 49th pick for Edmund Sumner. He says, I promise I will have the Sixers trade for somebody you've heard of soon. But he couldn't do anything major this one. What do you think? Do you know Edmund Sumner? I'm sure.
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah. Sumner went to Xavier and got hurt like sometime maybe middle of the year before the draft, and then so he fell in the draft. He's kind of like an athletic. He kind of got some like Terry Rozier to him, like a penetrate guard, like athleticism. Not an excellent shooter. Probably maybe like has the potential to be a better floor general, but he's kind of buried on Indiana, especially behind Brogdon and Oladipo and TJ and Aaron Holiday. They have a bunch of guards like that, but definitely a guy we could get for cheap. I don't know how how good the athleticism is to, especially, and he's probably healed from his, I think it was an ACL, to validate like the kind of fineness and other. He's like maybe if Shake was a worse shooter and had a little more athleticism and was, I think, a little less long. I don't love him, but I wouldn't mind for Norvel in the 49th is like fine.
Yeah, whatever.
But I think odds are Norvel becomes, I don't know.
Norvel's pretty old.
He's pretty old. He's just got to like settle down, like settle in and become like just like only watch Tyson Chandler like 2012 like tape. I think the odds of him becoming a playable backup like 10 minutes a game for very cheap are probably better than the odds of Sumner becoming anything more than what he kind of already is, which is like a 10-minute a game once in a while player, like even like Neto or something.
The next one with the Pistons, the Sixers send Zaire Smith, Norvel Pell, the 34th pick and the 36th pick for Luke Kennard, who will be a restricted free agent after 2021.
This I like. I mean, Sixers are notoriously not making all of these picks, so may as well get something out of them. Zaire, I obviously love and feel at almost Fultzian level of disappointment that we haven't been able to see it. Maybe there's, I don't know. I still hope for Zaire, but
Yeah, there's been. I mean, he's had a lot of
roadblocks.
obstacles that we've all had, and then his own roadblocks in addition to that. So
For
it
sure,
hasn't
and
been
he was raw coming out, so it's
Yeah.
just tough. And even just drafting Matisse is like, hey, we're going to draft somebody that's further along your development path
right.
than the year after you, and it's like 3 years older or whatever. But Kennard's good, man. He's good and has like a little bit of that. He's like an excellent shooter. Has some like Joe Ingles, not just because he's a white, swingman lefty that can like handle a little pick and roll type deal. He's good, better passer than you'd expect. Can do more than JJ with the ball in his hands for sure. More than like Wayne Ellington. He is a pretty bad defender. I really believe in the offense, and I think he would help Simmons and Embiid a lot, but a pretty bad defender. And so it'd have to be the kind of thing where, because you look at, we were talking about Toronto, and they just have like a bunch of guys that can do a lot.
And
that,
every
like,
player
are
can
willing
defend,
to.
by the way. Just
Every
about
player
every.
can defend, and every player has some level of ball skills. And seem to be very teachable. Maybe that's who they are, and that's who they draft, or maybe that's just helped by Nick Nurse being a really good coach. And it seems, and so the Sixers always go in like one heavy direction, right? Where before it was like, okay, we have Simmons and Embiid, and they do the stuff, and everybody else just does a roll around them. They, Covington does his thing, and he does nothing else, and Dario does his thing, and does nothing else. JJ, same thing, and then they were like, okay, now we're just getting only guys that can defend and are big. And are like just not going to get pushed around. We're going to double down on that. And then it's like, okay, that doesn't work. And it seems like the answer is, there's not a million guys in the league like this, but the answer is like getting some of everything. And if you're going to get a guy who can't defend, then you better be able to have like another guy that could step in when it's time to. You know what I mean? His offense has to matter. I think Kennard's offense is going to be good enough to where even if he's a C- on the defensive end, if you hide him on some, Danny Green type player, then you can be fine. But it's got to be a balance of that. So I would do this trade for sure.
I'm impressed by Kennard every time I see him. That's what I'd say. He's had some knee stuff, but I would and look, like he's going to want a contract after 2021. But I think they're sort of in the spot where if you're getting a year out of him, and that year's next year, like, you sort of have to operate in that way. And figure it out later.
I think he's a better ball handler than Josh Richardson, a better passer than Josh Richardson, significantly worse on the defensive end, and a better shooter. And I think just like, especially if you have,
he's way better passer and way better shooter.
Yeah, by a lot. Especially if you have Shake, and I really do believe in Shake by a lot. Especially if Shake kind of assume the Josh Richardson role as even more of a point guard stuff, but he's not as much of a dog on the defensive end yet, but that can just be long and penetrate and stuff. I think I'd prefer a Shake Kennard type rotation with Matisse and I guess not Zaire in this instance. Matisse coming in for defense than like Josh for another year with like that kind of like clunky fit. Like it feels like it would help Embiid and Simmons a lot more.
Two more. One with the Bulls. The Sixers send Mike Scott, Zaire Smith, and a 2023 second-round pick for Tomas Satoransky. I would do this in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not excited about it, but I have to look at Satoransky's contract. But
I think he's got 1 or 2 more years at like $7 or $8 million, something like that. Didn't he sign a?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Mike. It kind of takes away. I mean, Mike struggled for a lot of the year shooting wise. Seemed to get a little hot towards the end, but this is for next year that they'd figure things out. But it takes away one of theirs like consistent. I will shoot it every time I get it type guys.
They'd have him for $10 million a year for 2 more years.
Yeah, but it's tough. It's tough because Mike Scott plays a position that the Sixers are already like totally fine at. And Satoransky they need.
And finally, one that Adam has been talking about for a while that I think he actually believes in now is Horford for Love. I don't hate it as much as I used to, honestly.
The reason you get Al Horford and they overpaid him, Of course. They give him too many years. Of course. He doesn't look good with Embiid. Of course. But the Sixers would have won the championship last year if they had a playable backup for Embiid. They were horrendous in the minutes Embiid sat, in the few minutes Embiid sat in that Toronto series. And did they like overreact? Absolutely. Did they think that it could work? Yeah, like for sure. But this would once again, you essentially have like two Tobias Harrises, who are Tobias. Obviously, I stood up for his defense all season long. Kevin Love is worse defensively and older.
Better shooter, better rebounder.
Yeah.
Like I just think about he would be with Embiid and Simmons a better fit.
For sure.
Would. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. But I think you get, because he's gonna have to play on the outside. I just don't think there's much difference between like Kevin Love essentially at this point in his career on offense is kind of just like a hybrid between Tobias and like Mike Scott, where he's not like running around screens. Mm-hmm. He's not like you're not posting him up much, if at all.
But
he's not penetrating stuff.
I would say just for a second, if you told me that I could have one of two guys with the ball to create a shot with 7 seconds left on the clock, and you gave me Tobias or Kevin Love, I would pick Kevin Love.
Oh, I would take Tobias. Yeah. I get it. I get why you'd be like, well, let's get the guy that could shoot better. But the reason, like, they would have won a championship, and there was not a perfect team last year, of course, but you get Al Horford because when Embiid has to sit 10 minutes a game, 8 minutes a game in a playoff, whatever, when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, like he comes in and can like keep you afloat.
But I think it's more important to fix the minutes. I think it's just more important to fix that. Look, I don't entirely disagree. I'm not fighting for the trade, but I think it's more important to fix the minutes that Simmons and Embiid are playing together than it is to like they don't. They just need to find a better solution that isn't $30 million a year for
I hear you.
backup center.
I agree, but I think this would create more problems because it's another guy that kind of can't move his feet on the perimeter, and he's getting older. And I think you do anything in your power to get an Eric Gordon or a Buddy Hield or other versions of that kind of trade, so you don't have to. It's just solving one problem to then have another one.
Well, that's our whole life here.
That's the whole life, and that's why the Thunder pick needs to convey. Because if that does convey, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this is you can package this and another thing, and you can entice a team to move up into the lottery because all of a sudden it's 21 or whatever it is, and that becomes a possibility if you're looking at Houston or Sacramento.
The Lorenzo Brown mailbag is brought to you by Kinetic Skateboarding, who is hosting there's like a skater protest today, which I
Shout out
think
to skaters.
Yeah.
I've never skated. Not good on wheels.
I tried. I was about 14. I would love to go back. Skateboards looked different when I was skateboarding. They were like the ones that had the wider tails on them. Like everybody skates on the skinny ones now. Kinetic's your spot. Great people, great stuff, sneakers, gear, and skateboards, all that stuff. KineticSkateboarding.com. Promo code Dave Silver for 9.1% off your first order. Longtime listener TJ, Coach TJ, as I call him, lives here in Springfield. I used to pass him running occasionally. We would never say a word, but he would know exactly where I run. So, hey, Spike, I have a process and philosophy question for the Ricky based on prior Ship of Theseus discussions. Here's the wind-up. The Ship of Theseus is a common device to problematize physical continuity theorists in the philosophy of identity debates. In short, if you use a physical framework to establish the continuity of identity over time, then the Ship of Theseus problem, or Locke's axe, is something that you need to resolve. Physical continuity thinkers have been around since the Greeks and are resurgent today, especially with the rise of the related positions of materialism and atheism.
Of course.
Basically, what Ship of Theseus says, we've talked to this before, is like if you have a boat, the Ship of Theseus, and you are replacing piece by piece, at what point is it not the same boat anymore? And we had this conversation with Sean Carroll years ago about the process. TJ continues, psychological continuity theorists like John Locke or dualists like Descartes locate identity in non-material substances. For Locke, like many imperialists, that might be something like memory or long-standing personality traits. Christopher Nolan movies like Memento and The Prestige are grounded in this way of thinking about identity.
This is just a flex so far.
Yes. Oh,
not a question quite yet.
Come on. For Descartes and most Christians, identity would be located in something like soul that existed before and will continue after death. The physical and psychological thinkers battled it out for 300 years until a British philosopher named Derek Parfit came along and provided a theory of identity over time that reimagined the whole debate. His book, Reasons and Persons, is what I'm borrowing from for this process question. Here's the question. 2 possible realities to choose from. Which is more preferable? A, either this year or next, the Sixers win an NBA championship with Joe, Ben, Brett, all still part of the team. In this reality, all of the post-championship enjoyment would ensue, a parade, a year of championship glow, etc. However, over the years, our collective memory of the championship, as well as the entirety of the process era, fades until nobody remembers it. You, me, everybody forgets that the process ever occurred. This act of forgetting would also include all archives of those seasons. In short, the era would be erased from memory, although it did in fact happen. Option B, the process era Sixers never win a title. Over the years, Brett is fired, Joe and Ben sign elsewhere, and all material connection to the process is severed. To make this less sucky, though, let's say Scott O'Neal gets caught up in a Me Too scandal and is fired. Great work from TJ. Yet the process years continue to live on in our memory as a time when we enjoyed the Sixers and the relationships that we formed during those years. In fact, many of those relationships will continue. Spike and Mike remain lifelong friends. The apparently thousands of L.L. Pavorsky married couples live long, loving lives together, and there are even Ricky reunion parties every 5 years or so. Which would you choose and why? The answer is easy for me, though he does not give his answer.
I don't understand how long it says over the years our collective memory of the championship as well as the process era fades until no one remembers it.
Let's say the championship. Let's say I'm going to change his thing because I don't think he wrote it correctly. Let's say the championship memory remains, but how he got there fades. Is not there anymore. There's no memory of the process.
We have no memory. You and me have no memory.
Everybody. It's gone. It's gone. Nobody talks about it. It's like it's one of those things that is in history books, but nobody acknowledges.
Like I could see if in like 40 years people are just like, and the Sixers won a title because they had Embiid and Simmons. Yeah, those guys are good. And
yes.
And people don't do the future. But the idea of me forgetting feels.
Well, let's say it's over a 10-year period, and yes, you do forget.
I won't though.
But that's the rub.
I promise I won't. I will, even if I'm in some sort of trapped in my own mind of not being able to say that I remember the process. I will remember it. So give me the championship.
You're cheating.
I am.
Yeah, I would obviously pick B, as I don't care about winning and losing anymore anyway.
You would pick LL couples. Live lifelong, loving lives together.
Yeah. I would rather have memory. I've said this a bunch of times, but the few years that we've done this, or the few years at the beginning of this, and this has changed my view of what is important in sports to me. It is no longer winning; it is making the correct decision. I would rather. So all of this nonsense is more important to me than the fucking Josh Harris's fucking team winning anything.
It's not Josh Harris's team; it's our team.
Well, yeah, I've said that. That's my bit, right? That's part of my bit. And then his non-basketball question, as if that were a basketball question. For the rest of your life, every sandwich you ever eat has to have one ingredient other than bread included in the sandwich. What would you choose? I'd go with avocado. I'm assuming Mike would pick a slimy deli meat.
I think avocado is overrated.
I don't think so.
That's my food take, is that it's not actually as good as it is.
That's rough.
I mean, I like what's slimy. I would like a non-slimy piece of turkey or something, or ham, anything, any meat. It has to be a meat. Pick your meat. Mortadella.
Oh, mortadella. I remember mortadella. Very good. I would pick actually a nut butter. I would probably pick salted natural peanut butter. Um, I the reason I would not pick avocado, which I enjoy, is that if I can only have one ingredient, I think avocado needs like salt or some hot sauce. Like I think it's a little bland as it is. I actually do think it's overrated in taste. It is a good nutrient though. It's a good nutrient source if you're not a meat eater. This comes from William. Hi guys, thanks for putting out 3 hours of content that almost makes life feel normal. First, a music question. For me, the vast landscape of good quality or better music is overwhelming, so I'm trying to limit most of my listening to just Philadelphians. What local musicians would you suggest giving a listen to? They can be in any genre, but I prefer they were still active. I don't know, just listen to the fucking pod for the last 6 weeks. All them. Amos, Mootlu, Mountjoy, Eliza Hardy-Jones, all Philly. Dr. Dog, which is Eliza Hardy-Jones adjacent. I love. Dave Hartley, who's War on Drugs. Now, they're not a Philly band, but it is Philly adjacent.
Meek Mill, The Roots.
Meek Mill. I don't love Meek Mill, and The Roots only haven't had a good album in 20 years. But both
G Love, also a Philly guy.
G Love, also on the pod, also Philly guy. I mean, Boys to Men obviously haven't had an album in a long time, but obviously great. Dave, mixed feelings on Dave Hawes, as that he's always been sort of a weird dude every time I've met him, but Dave Hawes, Hause, and his band, The Loved Ones, love the music, great music. I don't think Dave Hawes is a bad guy or anything, just always been a little strange. Anything else? I'm trying to think of Philly bands that I really enjoy. So our pick this week for the Carl Landry Music Club, Carl Landry Record Club, is Sheer Mag, which is a Philly band. I do not fucking like it at all. We'll give our review on Wednesday, but that's another Philly. There's a lot of Philly. I would recommend all of those, though. And now for a basketball question. Jay Wright is a popular Brett Brown replacement suggestion. However, this seems unlikely for reasons well discussed elsewhere. What do you think about Dawn Staley? She's local and has won as many NCAA titles as Boeheim, who sucks, Izzo, or Calipari. Obviously, this feels pretty unlikely, but I'm curious as to how you think she would fit with the Sixers. I'd love Dawn Staley.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, she's incredible. I have no idea how a female head coach would just in a real world scenario would work with an NBA team. I think having her there first, honestly, I would say this with any coach who does not have head coach experience somewhere for a team that needs to win a championship, having that coach there first to see how the players like them is probably smart. Totally. But I mean, I don't know. Dawn Staley would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, she's currently coaching at South Carolina, and won a championship or at least a bunch of Final Fours. Yeah, I mean, she's awesome. I think if there's been would love more female head coaches in the NBA. And I think this Sixers team seems to be, I haven't thought about it in terms of like the rest of the league, but they seem to be uniquely, culturally aware and like respectful. And I feel like Dawn Staley commands a lot of respect just as her presence and being a Philly person. So I feel like it would, I feel like it wouldn't be a, massive blowback to like, oh, a woman's our coach kind of thing in the way that maybe in the 80s or 90s or whatever, or obviously before would happen. But
well, I think they would be celebrated publicly.
Totally that. I mean, as far as the players go, it seems like I would love it. I would love if they hired her as an assistant coach to Brett if Udoka goes. We'll be, and then see if how it goes, how it works out.
And obviously, we have no idea whether she would want to, but
totally.
Before we get to our final mailbag questions, our final sponsor for this pod, love Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Fucking love them. Big Barker doing well with the enormous spike in adoptions and fosters during COVID-19.
Yeah, that's great news.
Great news. I wanted to, these are always weird, but I feel like I need to do it. A process pup passed away this week. A longtime process pup, one of the original ones with the sewn on, with the it's not sewn on, the embroidered logo. Sonny, who had a great story. If you go to our Instagram or our Twitter, the story is there. But just Sonny was rescued when he was like 8 and, had a dead leg, and his parents saved him and had 7 more great years. So died when he was 14, but one of the original process pups. So we send love to Sonny's family. And it's this weird thing where I was telling Val, I feel sad every time I get one of these emails. Like I get teary-eyed, but I am sort of glad that we have such a connection to the people that listen, that when their process pup passes away, they let us know, of all people. So I'm glad that we could be part of Sonny's life and that Sonny was around. Sonny was a process pup. Big Barkers are the best dog bed on the market. BigBarker.com/Ricky, BigBarker.com/Ricky, because they are the only beds that are actually made to support your dog's joints so your dog is happier and healthier. Originally created for Eric's dog, Hank, who was a big dog, and they are, if you've got a giant dog, even a giant dog, the XL beds are big enough, but they do have Barker Juniors, and they have a big Barker for every size dog. Rebel sleeps on a big Barker, fucking loves it. He loves it. My wife wasn't home the other night, so I had to put Rebel to bed. She makes his big Barker before he gets in it. So he walks up to the bed, and the blanket is toward the bottom, and he just looks at the big Barker. He stares at it until I pull the cover up. And then, as soon as I lay in bed, he pulls the cover down. Little shit. Wow. Go to BigBarker.com/Ricky. Get your Big Barker. Get 2 process pup patches that you can put on the bed and whatever else you want to do with it. Or if your significant other doesn't think you should put the process pup logo on the bed, you can do whatever you want with it. Then send us a picture, and we'll put them in the gallery, which we've gotten a ton of over the last couple of months.
Yeah. Donovan turned 11 yesterday, by the way.
Oh, happy birthday, Donovan!
Right.
10-year warranty. Foam doesn't flatten, or they replace it for free. 1-year trial. If you don't like it or your dog doesn't like it, they will give you a full refund. Made in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. From Dan. Hey, Spike and Mike, I have a sports question, non-sports question. Sports. If the NBA decided the only way to crown a champion was to have every playoff team play in a 2-on-2 tournament, which 2 Sixers would you like to see play? This is a good question.
Yeah.
It's trickier than you think.
Well, I would do it. We talked earlier about a 1-on-1 competition. A 2-on-2 would actually be more fun.
I agree.
Like NBA Jam style.
I agree.
People should be heating up, and you should be able to dunk from like 30 feet above the rim.
Yep. I know what I would take, and it's moderately controversial. What are you taking? Well, here's the thing. I will say
what other teams would do. I think versatility has to be prioritized here, because if it's not, then if say you run up against a team that is playing 2 guards, or like say it's like Kawhi and Lou Williams, or Kawhi and Paul George, or whatever.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden Embiid has to be like coming out. I might say Shake and Ben.
Oh my God.
I might say Shake and Ben.
Well, I gotta say,
they get the rim. They're both shifty. They're both physical. They're long. Shake can defend 1 through 3-ish, and Ben can defend centers in a pinch. So if it's like Jokic, Ben can like at least do enough for him, and then Jokic has to defend him on the other end, which is impossible. I think as far as versatility goes, Embiid and Simmons is obviously would be a fine answer, but having two guys, neither of which are willing to shoot that much, might be dangerous. And also Embiid has limitations for if he runs into the wrong matchup, and so I think Shake and Ben gives you the most action.
So, of course, right on brand. I think I'm taking Shake and Embiid.
Wow.
Now, look, if we're getting the Ben that we see every summer...
We both have Shake in it.
What's that? Yes.
Us both having Shake is really...
Yeah, we agreed on Shake.
That's a given.
Yes,
and
obviously we're taking Shake.
Max player are we putting with Shake?
You got Horford making 30, Tobias Harris making 36, whatever. I if we had Simmons doing the thing he does in the summer where he's shooting in these games, then sure, I would actually just take him and Embiid. But I think 2-on-2 without Ben shooting is a little easier to defend Ben than we would think.
I disagree.
Really?
I think the problem with Ben on an NBA court is that it fucks up spacing.
Mm-hmm.
In 2-on-2, you got all the space you want. And so it's not like they're going to double Ben. And so most guys in the NBA cannot cover Ben one-on-one if there's nobody around him. So plus with like shaking the pick and roll, I feel like the shooting is even less of an issue. Shake is a guy that, that's why I wouldn't put Embiid, because you need, at least if Ben's not shooting, then you need someone that is at least shooting willingly anytime. But also Ben being like an excellent passer, it does limit, there being only one teammate to pass to kind of limits that. That's an interesting choice, but I think I'd still go Shake and Ben.
And then the non-sports question, I think, is a good one. When going to a restaurant you've been to before, do you order the same thing each time, or do you change your order each time? Keep up the great work. Been loving all the pods. Go Sixers.
I mix it up because I want to have a variety of experiences. My mom gets the same thing every time. If she goes to a restaurant and she has one thing and she doesn't like it, she'll never go to that restaurant again, which seems crazy to me because they have more than one item on the menu.
You don't need that one, yeah.
Alyssa also likes what she likes, and when she finds something that she likes, she will just get that every time. I will vary it up and often be disappointed and then have to eat off of their plate. Alyssa's or whoever I'm with, Pat's when I'm going out with him. So I probably should just order the thing that I like, but I want to have a variety of experiences. So that sometimes comes at the detriment of my own enjoyment and benefit.
Totally same page. I would actually prefer not to even order. I often tell the waiter or waitress to just pick for me. I just want, it's harder now, I guess. Pick for me, but no dairy, no meat. Yeah. I can't do that anymore. But the only thing I will say is that when it is a lower level restaurant, like if there's a Chinese food delivery place that I like, I'll just get the same thing every time. But real restaurants, I change it up every time. And this isn't a question, and I know you have to go. I just felt like I had to read it because I thought it was good. This comes from Monty from Queens. He said, I think last week you guys were joking about NBA playoff scenarios where top seeds would select their opponents. I love that idea, but can we take it a step further? How about after each round, the victor gets to select a player from their vanquished rival squad to play on their team going forward? So, for instance, if the Sixers beat the Pacers in round one, they could pluck Brogdon off the Pacers for the remainder of their playoff run. It's stupid, I know, but it's fun. It would generate the main interest from fan bases once their team is eliminated.
I said you would take TJ from Indiana, first of all.
Yeah, we would have to, just for the locker room.
I would take Brogdon as a ploy to get the Rookie of the Year trophy back.
Right. Just, hey, we really want to see that. Could you bring it in? I wonder how much they would actually play a person who had never played on the team before.
Right.
You know?
I mean, it's fun. It's certainly fun to think about, and I think in a weird say that they canceled the season and they were just doing a for charity March Madness style tournament in the NBA. Mm-hmm. That'd be fun, but I think it would rub too many players the wrong way. Even like if they say they did that, they took Brogdon, and all of a sudden now Josh is on the bench, or you get Brogdon and he plays 10 minutes a game if he's not comfortable with the system or whatever. It seems a little complicated.
Maybe you just take that center. That it's been so long since the NBA.
Sabonis?
No.
Miles
Turner, just to play backup center.
You hate Miles Turner. I
do. I think he stinks.
I'd probably take Sabonis.
This Sabonis is way better than Miles Turner. Miles Turner stinks. All right. We got some good stuff on the way. Working on some good guests for everyone. What's that?
If you've gotten this far, do you watch Queer Eye at all?
No.
It's great, and
Is it still on?
yeah, the new I mean
Oh.
newish. It's been season 4 or 5 right now. It's in and it's the new season of Queer Eye, which came out I think Thursday or Friday,
Huh.
is in Philly.
Oh, really?
And I somehow didn't know that. I've seen all of the new season on Netflix, previous seasons on Netflix, and they were like in Atlanta and Kansas City, and I've watched one episode of the Philly one. It's so good. It's such a delightful show, and it makes you cry. And seeing all the Philly stuff I'm just very excited for it. So I couldn't recommend Queer Eye Philadelphia anymore.
We started watching Devs. Have you watched that show?
I have seen Devs, all of it.
We're 2 episodes in. I enjoy this sort of show, so it's right down my alley, but I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And there's another show called Afterlife, a Ricky Gervais show that we started watching. Have you seen it? It's on
No, I'm not a Ricky Gervais guy.
Netflix. It's a dark comedy, I would say. Dark. Okay, well, we will see you. We're working on some good guests as we continue the longest off season in basketball history. That's all I got. You got anything else? Happy birthday, Alyssa.
Happy birthday, Alyssa. And yeah, we'll keep talking about brotherly love, but June 25th.
Yes.
The script will be or the pre-order will be available June 25th, and all the money goes to charity, even if Brian Colangelo or his relatives don't think we give to charity.
Yeah, they will. We'll get the receipts. We'll show the receipts. And thank you to Touchstone Electric Fireplaces for matching the donation. Very good stuff from them. They seem to be down for whatever. We have a lot of good sponsors who are down for whatever.
Great sponsors.
Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, Lick Face.